We're not doing American accents, are we?
God, I hope
I've
not.
got to. This is James, written by Gavin Evans. Fade in, interior day, waiting room. Camera focuses on a young man sat in a waiting room so that he's shy and troubled, looking nervous, almost frightened. His jeans are slightly worn, his shirt is creased. He looks up to see a woman sat there with a young child. Their eyes meet. He looks down immediately, not wanting to look up again.
Mr. Sandfield.
The man looks towards the receptionist behind the desk. He admires her beauty, but only long enough so that admires her beauty, but only long enough that she doesn't notice.
Dr. Edmonds will see you now.
He reluctantly gets up, holding his cap in his hand, squeezing it tightly.
Thank you.
He stares at her beauty, but not actually realizing the awkward moment they're in.
It's just down the hall.
Yes, thank you.
James walks down the hall, slowly looking back to get another look at her. He reaches the doctor's door and gently knocks it twice.
Come in.
James slowly walks in. The camera rises to Dr. Edmonds, who is wiping sugar from his mouth from the half-eaten donut on the table.
Ah, James, nice to see you. Your mother not with you today?
James stands there awkwardly.
Please, James, sit down. It's actually nice to see you alone. How have you been?
James sits in the chair at the doctor's desk.
Good. I've been good, thank you.
You caught me having my afternoon snack. Don't tell me your wife. I mean, to be losing a few pounds.
Doctor grabs the donut in his hands and drops it in the trash bin next to him.
Okay, right. Where were we? In our last session.
He looks through notes on his table.
Ah, yes, right, okay. So, James, we talked about maybe finding you some work. Nothing too strenuous, mind. Maybe something part-time.
James fumbles with his cap, looking down at all times.
James, look at me. It's okay. I didn't bite. These sessions are about communicating, okay?
James looks up at the doctor.
I'm sorry, it's just...
Just what, James? You feel more comfortable with your mother, would you?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, hell, James, us guys can chat, can't we?
James grins and nods.
Good. So like I was saying, I think it would be good for you to get a little job and maybe socialise outside of your home. Now, I'm sure your mother's great company, but I mean, people your own age, I'm sure your mother would agree.
Yes, I think I could do that.
Very good. Now, I remember you saying you was having trouble with some of the youths in your area. Has that worked itself out, or?
Well, they still call me names and throw things at me. Mother did speak to some of the parents, but...
James just shrugs his shoulders.
Okay. Well, maybe the next step is reporting the matter to the police. I can notify them on your behalf.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so moving on. What type of job would you be interested in? What do you like doing?
I like comic books. I have 27 at home.
I was maybe thinking volunteering somewhere, which may lead to a paying job. Now, I hope you don't mind, but I put your name forward to a good friend of mine who works in the hospital. He's very kindly, and there's a position there if you want it.
James doesn't look impressed with the doctor's idea.
Maybe.
Okay, James, then I'll tell him. Now, you need to be there first thing Monday morning, okay? Now tell me, what would your ideal job be?
I can't say.
Why, James?
You'd laugh. just like my mother did.
Why did she laugh?
Cut to flashback interior apartment. The carer moves towards a large woman who sits in her armchair, filling the whole chair. That's Mary Sandfield, James's mother. She sits there with a bowl of chips on her lap. She grabs handfuls and stuffs them into her mouth. James sits with the TV dinner on his lap with knife and fork in hand.
No, I said no.
Oh, for fuck's sake, just say.
Why? Why do you want to know?
Because you start saying, just because you think I'll laugh, you stop. Look, I couldn't give a rat's ass what dreams you got. Dreams don't get me nowhere.
James just looking at her. She stuffs chips in her mouth, crumbs filling the top of her breasts.
Okay. I want to be a superhero.
James' mother bursts out laughing. The bowl falls, but she grabs it. She just rocks back and forth, laughing, chips falling out of her mouth.
Stop that laughing.
Oh, James.
She can hardly catch her breath. She laughs on and on.
Stop! I said fucking stop!
She begins to choke on her chips. She signals James to get a drink. He just sits and looks. She finally swallows what she's eaten.
You little prick. Just sit there and watch me choke. Some fucking superhero you be.
James just looks at her. He has no expression on his face, squeezes his dinner knife, stands up. His dinner slides off and hits the floor.
What are you doing?
He steps towards her and in one quick swipe, he slices her throat. She gargles, struggling for breath. James just stands over her. Cut to interior present doctor's office.
James, I'm not here to judge or laugh. Honestly, you can tell me anything.
James places his cap on the table, leans forward.
I want to be a superhero.
Apologies. Doctor thinks for a second on what to say.
Good. That's really good. You can help people. I like that.
James smiles, almost relieved the doctor didn't laugh.
So you don't think it's stupid?
Of course not. Look, James, you have the heart to go out and help people. Now, does that mean you have to dress up in a fancy costume? No. That's just fantasy, but
James slowly settles back into his chair, slowly drops his eyes back to the floor.
there are so many homeless shelters you could volunteer for, as well as the hospital. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, thanks.
Look, I hope you don't mind, but I put your name forward for a volunteer position down at the medical centre. Now, I know it's unpaid, but it could lead to a paying job.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Just be there Monday morning and ask for the doctor, Harris.
The doctor carries on talking, but James just loses concentration and sits there lost in his own world. Cut to interior day police precinct. Sergeant Hill walks down the corridor towards his office. A woman sits patiently. Hill rolls his eyes as he sees the woman.
Oh, God.
The woman stands up and blocks his way.
Good morning, Mrs. Saunders. So nice to see you again.
She looks up at him, all hard-faced and frustrated. You're ignoring my calls, Sergeant. Hill walks round her.
Look, I don't know what you want me to say. I really wish I could help you out. I really do.
My husband's alive, I know it. I've got 2 girls at home asking where their daddy's coming home. Hill opens his office door, tries to get away from her.
Like I said, I really want to help. I'm sorry. The case is closed and your husband is presumed dead.
That's bullshit and you know it. The whole office looks on as she shouts at Hill.
Look, you can't keep coming down here getting all hysterical. There's nothing I can do.
Hill starts to close his office door. Well, you haven't heard the last of this. My husband's alive. She looks around as the officers look on. Okay, show's over. Cut to exterior night downtown. A man sits in his car opposite a Chinese restaurant. It's Detective Hammond. He's a rugged detective down on his luck. He watches the restaurant alone. As he looks on, he sees a chef flipping rice in a wok and bursts of flames erupting from the wok. Cut to night, Hammond's house flashback. Hammond's house is engulfed in flames. The street is full of police. fire engines and paramedics. Hammond runs to his house, screaming for his family. Officers wrestle him to the ground to stop him entering the burning house. He screams for his family, his arms stretched out, tears run down his face. Cut to President, same, maybe that's present. There's a knock at his window. He jumps to bring himself back to reality. A man stands outside holding 2 coffees. Hammond lowers his office as one is passed through to him. The man walks round to the passenger side and gets in.
Hey man, you okay? Having a little daydream there, was he?
Hammond places his coffee on the dash and adds whiskey to it. That's John.
John, you're muted. You're
Sorry, I was
muted,
talk-
John.
I know, I was talking to the cat. Just shut up.
Hey, should you be drinking on the job?
Hammond looks at him, then dunks his coffee.
Look, how about you just sit there and be quiet? Just watch and observe. You might learn something, Officer Spirit.
I'm just happy to be here. It's nice not to wear the uniform. Kind of like wearing this suit.
Nice.
Oh, come on, man. Don't you want to chat? It'll be a long night sat here in silence. Hey, do they still call this a stakeout?
Call it what you want.
Hammond just keeps looking out the window, sipping his coffee.
Man, you're a buzzkill, ain't you? So you're at least going to tell me why we're here?
Hammond glances at him.
Okay. We got a Yin Wan who was part of a drug cartel 10 years ago. He made a deal with the DA to give up all his acquaintances. He went into protective custody. We now believe he's back in contact with his old friends and using this restaurant cover to push drugs.
So hang on, this guy rats out all his friends. He gets away scot-free and now he's back working with them. They're going to kill him.
That's his fault. We just need the big players. Yin Wan's just a pusher, small time.
Wow, I didn't realize this was big time.
Hammond turns to him.
Oh, come on, machine. Sorry, I lost the page. That's his fault. Well, sorry.
The last line. It's okay. Don't worry.
No, I got it. Look, this isn't. No one's going to show up. If they wanted him dead, he'd already be dead. We just got...
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I got.
That's okay. That's all we've got.
That's the end of the sentence, apparently.
I'm going to start this off because
Thought you might.
so
Spell check.
I'm
Spell
talking
check.
to you, Gavin Evans, who wrote this. Bless you, darling. It's not in the right format. It's not in the right typeface even. And I know that sounds picky, but there's a reason for it in script writing, and it's because when you format it correctly and you get the typeface right and everything, you know exactly what time you've got on each page, and you know how long the script is going to be when you shoot it. And so that's the reason for formatting, really. And there's lots of programs that you can use. You know, you don't even have to have expensive programs to do it. In fact, I think you can probably even get Word templates that will help you. I know you can, because I've used them in the past, a long time ago, that will give you the same template as something expensive like Fade In. Actually, Fade In is quite cheap. Final Draft. Fade In is quite a good choice if you're strapped for a budget. The other thing is there's quite a lot of typos in it. And so I think really you probably need to let your spell check have a go at it as well. Other than that, I was intrigued by James, I have to say, and I'm going to let Catherine have a word now.
Okie dokie. Yeah, agree with everything you said. Proofread. If you're not familiar with something, that's fine. Nobody's born with knowledge, but get somebody who knows what they're doing to look at it, because it's completely incorrectly, it's not formatted at all, my love. Yeah, wrong typeface. There's a lot of typos, not just spelling, but also grammar, which makes it very difficult to read. And that can detract hugely from anyone reading it. They'll get it'll be very distracting and they'll get bored very quickly. I don't think that's a full 10 pages because of all the spaces. That's probably quite a lot fewer pages than 10. Again, formatting will do that for you automatically. Check the BBC Writers' Room. They've got lots of bits and bobs on that. Punctuation.
We have to say, even if you're in the United States,
Yeah.
you can still access the BBC Writers' Room.
Yeah.
It's got lots of resources.
Lots of free stuff there. And Google your script off. Grammar, punctuation and spelling is very important for actors to know how and why and what they're saying. It denotes the pacing, it denotes the character type, it denotes the timing, it denotes the accent. You've got to get that right, unfortunately. Because of that, I didn't get any character definition. There were no character breakdowns either. They didn't come through the dialogue for me, unfortunately. So they all seemed quite similar. They're quite difficult to define. And I would have liked a little bit of scene description. Also, we need to know where it is and when it is. Certain things, it could have been in the 80s, the 90s, could have been now, I don't know. The character names need to be in capitals. And yeah, it's a shame because there were some intriguing bits to it, but because of all the errors, it was very difficult to follow, and therefore it didn't really hold your attention very well, I'm afraid. So proofread.
Thanks. Stewart.
Agree with everything that's been said. In terms of the actual scenes, I felt there was a little bit of extraneous repetition of the Doctor. He kind of seemed to say the same thing 2 pages later to James, and I thought, why is he saying the same thing? Is that stylistically? Is that for a reason? I wasn't quite sure what was going on there in terms of why he was repeating about a job he'd found, and he was pretty much saying exactly the same thing. I also didn't kind of get how the first bit with James and the Doctor was connected to the second bit. I thought it was going off on a completely different story, and I don't know, maybe I missed something, but it didn't come across as very obvious to me.
Excuse me.
Quite difficult with a small, with a short piece, and as you say, Catherine, this is probably not 10 pages. It's quite difficult to get that. I was presuming that although there was a very obvious break between the two different sort of sequences of scenes, if you like, that maybe those are going to end up being the detectives that investigate James's mother's death, if that's even real. We don't know at this point.
Well, yes,
yeah, that's the
that was
point.
my question.
Yeah.
Was that in imagination?
You're genuine.
Yeah, we don't know. It's
Yeah.
not. It's no description, no scene descriptions, so we can't
So
tell.
maybe that's something that will come out in
Fair
time.
point. Fair point. Yeah. Yes, and yeah, in terms of James's character, the one I was reading, I was trying to grasp why exactly was he there seeing the Doctor. Was he there because he was going to admit to these fantasy, not only being a superhero, but this fantasy mind he had about killing his mother, or was he there for another reason? I just wanted more. I wanted more in terms of the character of what was going on with James personally. But again, maybe that comes out in the story later on or something. But to build on as an actor. But yeah, that's interesting.
It was also confusing as to whether or not they were all linear or not. Whether it was flashbacks. Some of it could have been. I don't know, because of the formatting. It was really difficult to follow, unfortunately.
But it does say cut to present, or I think.
Yeah, but it didn't say anything prior to present, did it? So it was kind of
Yeah, it's like, where am I now? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Emma. Thought?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the same things. I think, it was a shame because it was slightly jumbled looking, it slowed it down, and I think, we didn't get a sense of the pacing of it, so it did feel like quite hard work, which I'm sure if formatted clearly, it wouldn't have done. And just I would say to Gavin, read it out, read it back to yourself, or get somebody to just read it back to you, because then you, as soon as, you know, I know from my own bits of writing I've done, it's just, you know, when I start thinking, God, how can I expect anybody else to say this? It's not making any sense, you know. So it does make you think about trimming. What else was I thinking? I liked it actually, that bit where we suddenly find ourselves with different people, because if it's part of a full length thing, it's quite nice to have a break, because it felt like it was quite slow with James and the doctor. I thought, oh, suddenly we're with these different people. I quite like that little parallel of here's you know, here's a detective looking into the restaurant, and there's a wok with flames, and then there he is at his house and it's on fire. And I quite like that little echo, and I thought that's interesting. Although obviously I didn't know what was going on yet, but it's only like 10 pages of something presumably longer. But yeah, I think look at film scripts for just sense of layout and what's useful for people to have put there. Maybe the whole script would give a different impression, but I do think right now, I wonder if we need the first scene. Maybe it's very important that he thinks the receptionist is beautiful, but maybe it's not, because I felt like maybe we could start it in the scene with him and the doctor, or even part way through that, perhaps, you know, that sort of arrive early, leave late thing. It's just quite interesting, because we don't mind as audience catching up with things. It makes us feel clever if we think,
Definitely.
I've guessed what's going on, you know.
Or even start with the murder of his mother.
Yeah.
So that he's kind of sitting in the reception, looking at this beautiful woman, the receptionist, thinking, and meanwhile you intercut scenes of his mother, mother. It's kind of, and then you go into the doctor and he's really like, oh.
Yes.
You know.
And he's being all meek and mild, and he's just killed this woman with chips all over her. Or
it's not necessarily killed,
yeah.
You know, and still leave
that part might be imaginary. It wasn't,
yes,
which
it
would be quite good. That would be a nice twist.
Yeah.
Especially as a lingering thing where the audience thinks it's really happened, and then later on it's like, oh no, it's just all in his head. But we don't know why he's in the doctor's. We don't know. That's not clear. Yeah.
He dreams of killing her in all these different ways.
Yeah, like Stewie from Family Guy or something. That would be quite nice. On that note, though, just very quickly, I wasn't quite sure if this was supposed to be a feature or an episodic thing, or that wasn't clear either. So
it's indicated on the front page. No,
is it? I didn't get the front page on that one.
No, title page. It's not indicated.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with absolutely everything that's been said. Always, always, always get somebody to proofread it for you, because they will see things that you won't, because you'll just be reading in your head what you think you put down on the paper. So always get somebody to proofread. I like the idea of James. He's obviously got mental health issues. Is he like he is because he's killed his mother? Is his mother a fantasy issue? You know, has his mother died a violent death and that's what it caused his mental health issues, whatever. But yeah, spell check, constantly spell check, and grammar. And as everybody else has said, format. Because I was reading lines that weren't script. But intrigued as to see where it's going to go.
Oh,
definitely. Definitely intrigued.
Rachael.
Yeah, I'm intrigued as well. It was an interesting story. I did start to feel sorry for James at some point, so that's good. I had a bit of a connection there, and I think I might feel even more for him watching him if I don't know how I feel about this. I'm a bit torn. Maybe if there was a little bit more that we knew about him before we came in with the doctor's scene, or before we came in with his mother laughing at him. I don't know. Maybe I feel even more sorry for him. It depends what you want the audience to feel, I suppose. But yeah, either way, I connected with him, and he's an interesting character, so that was cool. Yeah, the definitely have some more location details would be great. And I also kind of wanted a bit more detail about the doctor, just to know exactly what was going on there. Like, was it a mental health doctor and a counsellor, or was it? I'm guessing it was, but it'd be nice to know exactly who that was.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because a lot of people starting out writing scripts don't realise that they're not writing a novel that's just set in a different shape. They don't realise that you can't leave information out that you would maybe leave out in a novel because you're going to catch up with it later and it's part of the plot, because it's an instruction manual for the directors and the actors. So they have to know what the hell these people look like and why they're doing what they're doing and where they are. And, you know, so it's important to put those things up front and don't keep them secret, because just because you think, you know, they need to be kept a secret for whatever
From the
reason.
audience, but not from the cast
From
and the
the
crew.
audience, but not the cast and the crew.
Yeah.
It's not even the cast and the crew, it's the casting director.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, you can't just write characters with no description, because the casting director's going to go, okay, who do I need? Are they black, white, yellow, pink, green, orange with purple spots? Are they male, female, hairdresser?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd class the CD as crew though, so.
Ooh.
Okay, Erin joined us, but she was late to the party. Erin,
Tut tut tut.
can you hear us?
I jumped in too late, so
You
I won't
jumped in
interject
late,
it.
but did you hear any of it?
Only some of it, but I understand what all of you are saying, and I was intrigued. I think it's interesting. I think it has a lot of potential. I think fix all the stuff and keep going.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Thank you, gents, ladies, gents, and others, depending on how you now describe yourselves.